there.
Why, hello there. How's it going?
Good. Now, who got it? Was it me or you?
I don't know. I mean, who's really to say at this point?
I mean, I really hopped to it. I'm gonna say that.
Um, Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to Roll for Beer, a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, where we discuss all manner of alcoholic-based topics, gaming topics, and everything in between. Sometimes we dye our beards green, but
Yes.
there's no accounting for good color swatches.
No. Red, green, and white. Really, really good color scheme. I mean, that's technically the Italian flag. Anyway. No.
Red, green, and silver is Possum Lodge.
Red,
Just
green, and
saying.
silver. Yeah. No. You know what? That's. It's gonna be a place now, and I'm gonna have to figure out a scene for that. But anyway, I realized we never really introduced ourselves. Hi, this is Riley here.
Hi, Riley. This is a weird place for an AA
Hi.
meeting.
I know it is.
And I am James, your resident
Yes.
usual dungeon master for Legends of Logomancy. If you recognize us, it's
Yes.
because we stream TTRPG stuff on the internet, specifically YouTube, Monday nights at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah.
And in order to prop ourselves up to prepare for glorious TTRPG games, we sit around and drink beer and chat about life. So here we are.
Are we already
Uh,
at that part?
I think it's about time to it's in the title
It's in the
to roll
title.
for some beer.
Yes,
Now,
exactly.
I have 4 beer in front of me. How about you?
I've got 5 actually in front of me tonight.
5. All right, so I'm gonna be busting out the trusty D12 again.
Yeah, see, now I have a D12, but my math doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing stupid things as if I had a character sheet that had a -1 in there.
So you could just roll a D12 and start from the left and start counting up, counting up, counting up.
I could do that too. Let's see what happens.
All right. 3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
Running a 2.
I got a 6. Of course, I got the one number that it was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So tonight I have yours is of a similar color to mine.
Oh, yes.
A donation to from a fan of the show. I have Inner City Brewing's The Road Home Gingersnap
Ooh.
Porter.
Ooh, you were
Fi
just talking about that one.
Yeah, 5.9% porter. It lists as a soft ginger mixes with molasses and biscuity to make a cookie in a glass. I wonder about some of the grammar,
I
but it's probably going to taste all right.
Well, I mean, soft ginger. I mean,
Year
bad
of the
joke. Anyway,
Tiger, Anchorage Brewing
Year of the
Company.
Tiger, Anchorage Brewing Company, out of Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, nice.
Now, this is their
Out of Calgary
double
for this.
out of Calgary. Yes. Year of the Tiger, double Indian Pale Ale, brewed with Vic Secret and Mosaic hops, fermented with hazy Chico yeast, which I don't know that yeast strain. Uh, Double dry hopped with Rika and Strata hop. Ooh, Riwa, Riwaka. I don't know that hop brand for varietal. Ooh, something new. And Strata hops. 8.4%. Going in a little bit harder on this one. With one of the coolest freaking art cans. Look at that.
Nice.
Oh,
Chico yeast is apparently a strain of yeast known for clean fermentation that
ooh,
emphasizes malt characters and allows hops to shine through.
ooh.
Thank you,
Uh,
Dr. Google.
Yes, and also the art on this can, because this one actually does have an artist labeled on here. Art by Wolf Skull Jack. First of all, that is a damn cool name for
I
for a thing.
I'd subscribe to their newsletter.
I would too. Shall we?
Shall we? Three, two, one.
Two, one.
Oh. All right.
Holy shit.
It smells sweet. I think there's sugar in my beer.
There's probably a good chance that there's sugar in your beer because
It's
that's what
nice,
you need to make beer.
nice and dark. They did it right. It is a porter.
Yeah, that is a porter.
Despite the frequent discussions we have about the color of our friends' facial hair, not usually huge on ginger. Yeah, I got mine significantly darker than yours.
Yes. So, super nice hazy double IPA. But
Hmm.
well, how was the first sip there, James? Before I take a sip of mine here.
I get no ginger out of this yet.
Nope.
I get no ginger out of it yet. It's
Okay.
it's got some bitter tones to it on the back of my tongue. It's
Which would be the indicative nature of that
yeah,
of ginger. Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So,
not getting a whole lot of like I was expecting almost something akin to a ginger snap cookie, and
oh yeah, yeah,
instead
yeah.
it's closer to like white ginger,
Oh,
right? Like
interesting.
sushi
Okay.
ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
a little different.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, I am actually looking at the color of my beer. For those playing the home game who are beer people, this is about an SRM value of I want to say a 5 to 7.
And what's that stand for, Riley?
The
Because I don't
SM,
know.
yeah, fair enough. It is it the SRM scale is basically the scale of color.
Hmm,
It goes from one being like that clear lagery color to I think it goes up to 50, which would be Guinness.
okay. Which
And
which I also have sitting over here
yes,
in
which
case I
is
was thirsty later.
yes, and the term is standard reference method.
I like it.
So
So I am getting a little bit more ginger out of this on the fourth or fifth sip.
mhm,
It's it's very, very faint just on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, not terribly
okay,
bad.
all right. I would have liked this when it was a little bit fresher.
Mhm,
Hops disappear from beers eventually
mhm.
because that's kind of what happens. The hop value decreases over time, and
Even after it's canned?
even after it's canned.
Oh, is that why beer goes kinda skunky after a while?
That is one of the kind of things, but if you get skunky beer, that's normally considered something called light struck.
Okay.
So something that was originally in bottles and was an issue with bottling in beer. Light struck is that kind of skunky taste. It's kind of if a Corona is left out for too long,
Yep.
the clear bottle, there's nothing protecting that beer. It's going to develop more of that skunky taste. You can tell
So
how old one is because
so what about when you drink a can of Kokanee that's been in the cupboard for, like, 10 years? And you're
it,
like, "Oh, I forgot I had Kokanee in the back of my
my
beer
back of my
cabinet."
fridge.
Yeah,
Again, you're going to be losing a lot of that kind of that hop value because there is hops in Kokanee, there's hops
yeah,
in Budweiser, there's hops in all that,
yeah.
and you lose that basically over time. And
Hmm,
the other kind of flavors, you might get medicinal flavor, you might get Band-Aid, you might get um oh goodness, I said Band-Aid, but like that kind of resiny kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, but this is still a really nice beer, but I would have loved to try this when it was fresh.
that's fair.
Because I can taste what they were going for. I wanted to be punched in the face with that fresh hop bite.
Yep,
But I mean, it's kind of what happens when we get American beers or beers from other provinces, things like that. Dates are always a problem.
that's fair. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Going on from that, I'm
I
extracting something from here.
I don't know if you noticed, what I added to our stream tonight.
And what did you? Ooh, yeah, those are hops there.
Those are hops.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
because some people
Hmm.
have never seen hops before. It's the thing.
Yes, and you know what? And people look at my tattoo sometimes and they go, "Are those artichokes?" And I go, "No."
Well, I mean, they
It
could
drives me
be.
mental. They could be, but
It's the
no.
same scaling
They are
pattern.
hops. It is the same scaling pattern. It's also the same scaling pattern as marijuana
Yep,
because they're both part of the cannabinoid family.
yep.
But we're talking about hops and extracting certain information from hops,
Yeah,
such
less
as
extracts, essential oils, perhaps.
essential oils, things like that.
Here's the thing. The moment that anybody utters the term essential oil, I immediately start getting dismissive.
Mhm.
Now, that said,
Mm.
uh, eh, capsaicin oil and extracting like pepper extracts and things. Um,
Yes.
I I'm a hot pepper guy. I
Yes, you
love
are.
I
I
love
am aware of this.
feeling burn and pain and all of that jazz. I don't
I am
care about extracts
aware.
when it comes to pepper extracts because the
Mhm.
use case for them there's a very short list of use cases for those, where you're trying
Yes.
to up a general Scoville level of something that you're making as food. And people
Right.
are stupid and put it on their tongue and stuff like that. Like it's kind of bullshit.
It yes.
But I would argue that anything that you're going to make is better served by using a proper blend of non just like uh oil extracts and instead using actual
Yes.
peppers, uh the right peppers in the right combination. And last week
And
y-
that's
you had talked about
that
hop extract being
Mhm.
used as a substitute for an actual just fuck ton of hops going into a beer.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what's that about?
It's been getting more and more popular in the craft brewing scene, but I mean it has been used apparently for years now from the kind of research I've been able to find about it. But craft breweries normally tend towards more the natural, like, wet hop beers, which are basically where you take fresh hops and
Hmm.
throw them into the fermenter,
Yeah,
which is ridiculous to do when you actually think about it because you barely get anything from fresh hops.
yeah,
Think about like the reason why we process hops into pellets, and if you've ever seen a hop pellet, it's basically like a little green log about yay big.
yeah. It looks like rabbit
Um,
food.
yeah, it looks like rabbit food. And
It is technically rabbit food.
it X Files music plays in the background. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, like concentrated, punch down, dried hops. And that's fine. That's what we've used for years. But they don't have the longest shelf life,
Okay.
which is a bit of a problem. Especially because we have to make so much to make beers.
Yeah.
Um, there's always a bit of a problem with that.
Hmm.
And that's one of the positive things about extracts. And when we talk about extracts, they have a much better shelf life, like a much longer shelf life because of the fact that they are just oils and the oils will last a lot longer. So that's one very good thing about hop extracts. Um, and the next kind of thing is they're a much stronger concentration of acids and oils. What makes beers with those hoppy flavors, those grapefruit, the tropical, like all those kind of very important piney, resiny, um, and uh, orange, mint. There's some that are even showing up with coconut. Like it's ridiculous. But these oils don't degrade; they stay strong for a longer period of time,
Hmm.
and it's easier to store because I mean, literally, like, you
Yeah.
have a vial of hops compared to a bag of hops, which, depending on what you make, is kind of an important thing.
Mhm.
I've also found out about a couple of other kind of interesting things about it. You can actually, normally when you brew beer, you add the hop part during the boil or
Mhm.
the dry hopping part. You can literally add hop extracts in the fermenter.
Okay.
So if it's not at the point where you want it to be, you can literally add more during the fermentation process instead of um instead of just during the boiling process,
Mhm.
which is insane to me because that's like basically you're taking a step that is like integrated into brewing and you're literally going like, "Oh, didn't work. I'm going to put this step over here now,"
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy to think about.
Although I imagine that, while that's useful for determining new beer recipes, once you get a handle on, this is our mix, this is our brew, and you start getting consistent with it, you're not fucking around with when you're adding the extra hops.
That's the problem though in the industry, in the craft beer industry, my friend.
What?
Consistency.
Yes.
Consistency is a huge problem in the craft beer industry because you might get one batch of hops and you get the exact weight and you get everything exactly the same. It will still sometimes end up tasting different because the acids and the things like that are different from batch to batch.
It is technically coming from plant matter, so I mean everyone's gonna be a little different, I suppose.
And
This this reminds me of, I think I told you about, um, oh, what's their Bitter Sisters. They're a brewery here in Calgary.
yep, 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 yep.
So, they do a boatload of beers,
Yes.
like a metric fuck ton of beers,
Yes.
and, they did this one a couple of years ago called, uh they were trying to make a sour, like a peach sour,
Mhm.
and he fucked up the brew, and it was essentially 10 times more sour than it was supposed to be.
Yes, I remember you telling me about this beer. Yeah,
This
yeah, yeah.
this is one of those, like, you drink it and it inverts your face sort of things, and the my greatest regret is not buying every single growler that he had of this stuff, because it was probably my favorite beer that I've ever tasted in my life,
Yeah.
and he
No,
just
it
called it Warhead, and he's like, "We'll sell it till it's gone."
oh, exactly. And I mean,
Right?
and you know what? Sometimes fun mistakes happen like that. But
Yeah,
there are a lot of times where that can kind of happen
yeah,
in the craft beer industry where it doesn't work out necessarily. And so the fact that you can make adjustments last minute
yeah,
is a little insane.
mm,
The website I have found and like the information I have found here is like, eh, some of it's probably like this is a sales technique. I can definitely read it as I'm reading it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a sales technique, and it's like
mhm,
hop extract ensures a clean bitterness. It's like, no, that's okay. Yeah, this is very much a sales pitch here.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, it still has some useful information because it does give that little bit there. And then the last one that's very interesting is, and I want to see the validity of this reduction in wort waste. This is an interesting thought because you, there are no flowers or pellets to soak up any of the stuff, any
yeah,
of the wort. So, and my questioning on that is, do you really actually save that much?
mhm.
I don't
'Cause
think you would.
didn't you mention, last time we talked about this, they have, like, a swimming pool size amount of wort?
In some cases, yes.
Okay. For, like, doing kettle sours and that.
Well, that was for the lambics.
Okay.
Lambic beers, like traditional beers out in like I want to say that the company I'm thinking about is out in France. I
Okay.
could be wrong, but yeah, definitely some interesting kind of things with that. I
Mhm.
mean, every brewery brews a different amount of beer. A standard amount is about 20
Okay.
and hectoliters. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just go ahead, just straight.
I
Just
look, I am also Canadian and was picking up what you're putting down.
yeah, 20
Unless
hectoliters
unless we're
is
trying not to swear about the bad place, the fork and bad place. Um, uh, it it could have been either hectoliters or hectares worth of, like, plant matter.
yes. And yeah, it's so hectoliters. 1 hectoliter is 100 liters.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 20 when we say it like that is like quite a bit of beer. But I mean, like, 250-liter kegs,
Mhm.
that's 1 heck.
Yeah.
And when you say it like that, it's kind of like, yeah, that is kind of funny actually now that I say
I
it like
need
that. It's
I
one
need a
heck of
heck a
beer.
lot of beer. Not e it's not even a hell a lot of beer. I need a heck a lot of beer,
I need a heck a lot of beer. Yeah. Uh
and they think I'm just being polite.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm interested and I want to talk to somebody about the hops to extract versus hops and see what a brewer really thinks about it.
Yeah.
I'm composing a list of questions for a guest when we have a guest on because I
Mhm.
want to get a brewer guest on and really kind of just like these are the things that I've been finding out. Can you tell me about this? Because like
Yeah.
geez, there's a lot to brewing that I do know quite a bit. There's a lot that I'm missing,
Yeah. That's fair.
but it's the fun part about learning, and when we're learning, we tend to try and look at new systems, and with all the different kind of systems going on, and I mean, it just takes me into the mindset of D&D where there's a whole bunch of new tests and things like that going on.
You know, it in the same vein,
Hmm.
we play not D&D so far. It's been Tales from the Loop. Pixie
Yeah.
actually works for and helps run a brewery for Exhale Brewing,
Hmm.
and maybe
Yes.
they'd be interested in coming and talking about some of these things a little bit. We should ask them at some point.
Oh yeah.
Good
We
peoples.
really should because I mean well that and I also do know her partner for Exhale, Christina, wonderful
Christina. Yeah.
person in the yep, Christina here in Calgary for the brewing scene. She definitely knows her stuff and there are some heckin' good beers that she makes.
Yeah, heckin' good beers. I love it. So, um,
Hmm.
in the segue of systems,
Systems, yes.
we were gonna look at so it's the season of playtests right now.
Yes, very much so it is.
And we looked at the Paladin and the Druid, and thankfully,
Yes.
so that was last week. Jeremy Crawford came out and did some really preliminary. He was talking about the Rogue and the experts and some of the survey results that came out. And the like 40-minute video was supposed to be about all of that, but he spent 30 minutes of it talking about the Druid and the Paladin, where he's like, "All right, let's just
Hmm.
clarify some things here. You can totally crit on a smite
Oh.
and double all your smites still. That is bad language, and I'm sorry.
Ah.
You can still only do it once a turn." Um,
That's fine. I am fine with that. That makes
it's
sense.
that's totally fine. Um, that said, Kobold Press, writers of excellent source books, right,
Mhm.
like their Tome of Beast series is friggin' great, heckin' great.
Heckin' great.
I think that's gonna be the new thing for the channel is
Yeah.
everything is heckin'.
Heckin'. Heckin'.
Um, they wrote Horde of the Dragon Queen,
Yep.
the first 5e module or camp like yeah, adventure module that came out, Adventure Path.
Mhm.
Um, and a bunch of heckin' good dudes and ladies and they thems, and a bunch of NB people too.
Yes.
Um, what they didn't, in my opinion, do great is design their own game system.
I I have opened the packet.
Yep.
I am looking at the packet. There are 2 things that pop out to me here. I'm
Okay.
just gonna say here.
So I've read all of it,
Okay.
and the first one. This is the second playtest packet that's come out.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is your first impression as you read it?
Um, the font is my first
Okay.
impression, to be honest,
Okay.
because it looks just like D&D 5e.
That's fine.
Yep.
The 5e book uses standard fonts.
Yes, and I'm aware of that, but it's just like I
Yep.
feel like I'm reading a 5e pamphlet right now.
Yep. Because you are.
Mhm.
The first playtest that came out was, for all intents and purposes, the system reference document.
Yes.
Copy and paste it in to the point that even typos were still in there. There were a couple of things that I'm like, "Hmm, this doesn't, this doesn't make me feel good." I really expected, um, when Kobold Press launched, uh, Black Flag, that they were gonna do something really innovative, really unique, and instead, what they kind of did is they took the player's handbook and they changed a bunch of the language and words. Um, so you're not the Eldritch Knight anymore, you're the Spellblade instead. Um, you don't have the, uh, you know, you don't have,
Oh,
class features, you have
no.
disciplines now. You don't have extra attack, you have multi-attack, and it's kind of mostly the same thing.
Yeah, I
You
just seeing this here.
You're not a battle master, you're a weapon master. You don't know maneuvers, you know stunts. And those stunts are parry,
Ooh.
riposte, shifting strike, cheap shot. They're basically just renaming the stuff that's in the SRD.
Yep.
Um, which, I mean, here's the thing. People really like 5e, and they're
Yes, they
they're
do.
trying to do things where um they're making minor home it's like somebody looked at 5e and did a big homebrew on it, where they're like, I don't really like how battle masters get like 4 dice and they're d8s and you can add them to the things. I just want you to get a number of maneuvers equal to your proficiency bonus plus 1.
So,
That
uh,
way it scales.
so, our friends, obviously not our friend. We haven't met them yet. The people from not another D&D podcast. They do a thing called Turtle Tank,
Yep.
which is just like Shark Tank.
Yep.
And I'm reading and taking a look at this, and it feels like a lot of those kind of ideas.
Yep.
From what I can tell here. Hello, Bast. How are you doing this evening?
Here's the thing. Um a lot of this at its core feels like um a flavorful it's a reflavor at somebody's table to me. Like,
Mm.
when I read through this, they don't call them spell levels, they call them spell rings.
And I saw that, and I when I went down and I took a look at Wizard, I was very confused when I saw this. This
So,
feels like to sorry.
I was gonna say, this isn't a new thing by any stretch. So they put it in, saying when you're dealing with rings, you think of it like a tree where um a young mage has a single ring in their tree, whereas as you get more developed, you have more rings, more rings, more rings. We used to call these circles back in 3.5 because your spell level and your character level were kind of a weird interaction. And
Right.
one of the, I want to say it was the complete mage or the complete arcane, offered a bunch of different like alternate language based on your theming and the books that you were reading at the time. Um, and they actually used them as a hierarchy. Some of the
Hmm.
Eberron books touched on this a little as well. If you were a first circle mage, it means that you were a spellcaster that was capable of casting up to first level spells. If you were a sixth circle mage, it meant that you were a spellcaster capable of casting up to sixth level spells. and it was done as it's not a I'm level whatever because levels are abstract, but it was an in-world ranking system that denoted a mage's capabilities,
Right.
right? Whereas like a fighter didn't have that because they were just mooks with swords as far as like people in the world were concerned. But that dude over there, that he's a fifth circle um elemental like master, right? And hearing
And
those kinds of things could prepare you for the kinds of things that you could encounter from them,
that makes sense. And when
right?
you're using that as like I've seen that description used in different kind of books, things like that, like where
Very popular in manga and such.
very, very, very popular
Yeah.
manga. Also, oh god, what is the name of the book series? Again, I like this book series because it is crunchy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna look this book series up here, but basically, it is a book series not necessarily about the characters, but more about the world. The world feels like a character more than the other characters.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing what that is. Like,
Arcane Ascension.
okay, who's the author?
The author is Andrew Rowe. Rowe.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I'll have to check it out on Goodreads.
yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting. It's an interesting book series. He's very much somebody like when I read it or when I listened to it, I listened to it on a book program.
yeah.
It was very much that feeling of somebody who wanted to create this world of magics and things like that, but wrote a story alongside it.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I love the idea of what this is, but then again, I'm also a huge D&D nerd who likes the crunchy shit.
Yeah. Did are you a Jim Butcher fan?
I found out about Jim Butcher about 5 years ago, and it hasn't been, a series like, I like the idea of it, I want to read it, I just haven't picked up
So,
the books.
so Jim Butcher obviously wrote Dresden, right?
Yes.
Wizard in Chicago kind of deal.
Yeah.
He wrote The Aeronaut's Windlass, which I recommended to you. I'll loan you a
Mhm.
paper copy of it because it's really good.
Sounds good, I've got about 4 books I need to read right now.
So Jim Butcher is a notorious troll in the same vein of what we're talking
Mm.
about here. He spends a lot of time on Reddit, and somebody on Reddit was like, "I bet you can't make
Mm.
a compelling fantasy series out of like random things." And he's like, "Hit me up, try me." And they're like, "Pokemon and the Lost Roman Legion." So he wrote a short story about it, and then he was supposed to release it on Reddit, and he's like, "Actually," he released a post, and he's like, "I'm not releasing this on Reddit because I wrote a whole book. So I'm releasing a book. It's called the Codex Alara, and it's about people, a land that is formed by the Lost Roman Legion that essentially take spirits into their bodies, and sometimes they have one or two of them. And oh, what's that one? That one's an earth spirit. Oh, that one's a wind spirit. And they have names, and they release from their bodies and go and fight for them. And it's really, really good. You
I
want to
was
talk
like,
about crunchy magic systems?
I mean,
Like,
there. Okay, we need to have an episode that's devoted to crunchy magic systems. We really do because we're gonna talk about Stormlight Archive. We're gonna talk about freaking this system, the arcane. What did I say? Uh, oh my god, I forgot it already. Sufficiently
Arcane Ascension.
Arcane Ascension,
Yeah,
sufficiently advanced magic is the name
yeah.
of the book series
The other one
or
that
the
we'll
first
touch
book.
on is it's by an author named Ellie
Mhm.
Modset Jr. It's called The Soprano Sorceress. And the premise is it's about spell songs. And they're like, "How can we make a magic system based on,
Oh.
like, singing?" So she's a struggling, uh, opera singer and, like, Broadway performer that's and singer that's trying to book gigs, gets sucked into a magical fantasy land, um, where music is magic, and
Sign
you
me the fuck up right away.
and the crunchy bits are like she's like, "Well, I have low blood sugar." And anytime that she uses magic, it's physically draining, and she's like, "I need a goddamn sandwich now, and I'm racked with headaches because my blood sugar's just tanked." Do you know how much magic it takes to sing a boulder to go the fuck away? Like, and then
Sign me the fuck up.
so she brings in musical notation, and she's trying to teach musical notation to these people that, like, I play the strings of a stringed instrument, and she's like, You're doing it wrong. Here, let me teach you how to sight read, so you can accompany me and create a harmony." And they're like, "What's a harmony?" And she's like, "All right, our kingdom just advanced magically by like 1,000 years. I'm gonna teach you how to like accompany me while I sing and you play an instrument." Yeah, it's really good. I read it when I was, like, 12. It came out in, like, '97. It's, like it's not the best written series
Jesus.
on the planet, but it's pretty
No, you know
fucking
what?
good.
I mean, if we're talking about crunchy magic systems, yeah, they're not greatly written, but you know what? They're fun as hell.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
That said, um,
Mm.
I had every intention of going
Yes.
through Project Black Flag
Yes.
and being like, "I wanna see what you guys are doing." And so far, I don't feel a need to do that. Because although the concept of like, what if you replaced this one thing with a slightly different resource? Okay, I can theory craft that in my head reasonably easy. Like
I
looking
mean,
at what they did for the battle master, sorry, the weapon
yep.
master. Um, it's less damage and you can do it more times. So you get the same sort of thing. "Oh, you missed me. I get to take an opportunity attack on you." But I don't get to add a D8 when I do it, but I can do it more times throughout, and
I
it
I
doesn't
will
scale.
I will say this. If you handed this to me without the Project Black Flag on it,
Yeah,
I would have thought that this was a just another 5e something or other.
yeah. Well, and here's the thing, like, in The Wizard,
Mhm.
they included, uh, the battle mage, and I kinda like how they looked at talent lists, and they're like, "Oh, you're a battle mage? You can pull from the martial talent list," which are feats. You can pull
Yeah.
from martial feats as well as magic feats.
But
Um,
that's just somebody taking and homebrewing.
yep. The, cantrip adept is actually a subclass for wizard that they released in their own book, the Tome of Heroes. And they're like, "It seems weird to not, like, include something that already exists that we created that we wanted the wizard to have." But it's not a very like, I wouldn't play a cantrip adept because
No.
right? Like, it's a cool idea that, like, you practice the basics so much that your basics are kind of more reliable and better than some high level casters. That's a
So,
cool concept. I like that.
yeah, I like that concept because, um, I was somebody who was in karate, and my sensei told me a story about how somebody was entered into a competition to try and beat all these other people because they were like, "Oh, my kata will be so amazing because they got all the ones that have the flips, the jumps, this and that, and this like that." And then the guy who entered in did the basic kata
Mhm.
and killed it, like absolutely perfection and things like that. And it's like, yeah, that guy won because he did it impeccably.
Fear not the man that has mastered 1,000 punches. Fear the man that has mastered one punch 1,000 times. All of that jazz.
Exactly. And
Um, but when I read through this, nothing about what they've done here
Yeah.
inspires me. And,
No,
like, for all it is, like, we're in early days of these kinds of things, right?
very much
I
so.
was really excited, and they keep saying throughout, like, "These aren't the final versions, we'll keep adding more," and it's like, "Yeah, of course you are," but nothing that I see here makes me want to use this system over something else.
So I'm gonna say something here.
Yeah.
This feels like somebody wrote into Chat GPT and said, "Make me a system."
I have more faith in Kobold Press than that. Um,
I do too. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Kobold Press is an amazing group of people,
yep,
but that's what this feels like. Like, this feels like a copy and paste.
yeah, I wanted more than this.
Yeah,
Um, have you did I send you the preliminary stuff for MCDM's system?
MCDMs. I don't know that
Matt
one.
Colville's company.
No, you haven't sent me that yet.
All right.
No.
So, they specifically said, like, we're developing a game system of our own as well.
Right.
And so he talked for like 8 or 10 minutes about like, here's some of the stuff that we want to do, here's how we're going to play test it. And it's I like the idea of taking a really cool idea and running with it. Like,
Right.
what should this feel like to use? Because it's not going to be 5th edition. It's not even going to
Yeah.
be 3rd edition. I don't even know if it's going to be D20 based, right? Like it's hard to say. It needs to make sense, but you can't ever lose the feel of what you're trying to do,
Right.
right?
And see, now we've talked about this before, feeling
Yep.
in things, and especially last episode when we talked about the feeling of druid, like
Mhm.
the being the giant kraken, being the giant bird, being the
Yeah.
bear, like those are important, gritty, chompy bits when we're talking about like chunky magic systems. That's what we want as D&D players as far as I am aware. However, before you continue, because I know you're about to have a thought here, I would like to get another beer here.
You know, that seems like an excellent idea.
Yes, because I am 100% finished. I I don't think I'm going to pour any more of this can for me. Again, good beer. I
What
wanted to try it fresh.
what's the name again? Because I didn't grab it for our edit. It's from Anchorage Brewing Company.
Anchorage Brewing Company. It is Year of the Tiger, and I realized why it's 2022. So tells me that this was probably made in February of 2022. Hence
Yup,
the reason why I've lost all the hop flavor on it. But anyway,
that's fair.
uh,
Yeah, let's roll up another one. We still got
yeah, about 15,
fif
20 minutes ish.
15, 20 minutes. All right. I'm running 3 beers this time. So again, trusty D12. This time, I'm just going to roll it into a D12.
Oh my god! I'm gonna roll it in my glass.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's still rolling. There we go.
Cool.
Oh well, hey, that is the fourth beer.
So next, we have another write-in. Not a sponsor, not affiliated yet. From Blind Man Brewing, we have Dream Machine Mexican
Ah,
Lager.
yes. I think you're gonna
And
like this.
there's a bit of a story with this one. So
Oh,
the can art is excellent.
oh, that's a van from the.
Yeah,
Sorry, is that a van from the 80s?
it is. It is. So 18 IBUs,
Mhm.
SRM of 3, uh,
'Kay.
the 4.7% alcohol level. It was a day like any other, and it was our first delivery south down the highway in our rad 1979 delivery van. We had named her Dream Machine, and she had seen some miles, but had been well cared for. Plus, she had a sweet 90s paint job. So spirits were high, and we were loaded with nice cold beer for thirsty folks. Then, a couple miles down the road, we blew the engine in her, And now we drive a shiny new vehicle with no soul. So raise this crispy, delicious Mexican lager in her honor. These are out of Lacombe, Alberta. It
Cheers to
contains
the
barley.
dream machine.
Yeah. Keep cold drink fresh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for yours.
I have Guilty Remnant, which is from Blood Brothers out of Ontario.
I see.
This is a white stout, coffee, vanilla, and lactose.
I'll have to give it a go sometime.
Yes, and three,
Three,
two, one.
two, one. Ho, ho, ho.
So good. So, Blood Brothers, I love their stuff. And also, look at that fucking art there. Is
That's
that a
awesome.
D20 to me? That seems like a D20 to
Kind
me.
kind of looks like it.
Kind of looks
Kind of
like a
looks like it.
D20 to me,
It
especially
almost
when
looks like that. What is it? The Black Death Water or whatever it is. Um, what is it? Death Water. Liquid Death Mountain Water. It looks like a
Oh
liquid
yeah,
death
yeah, yeah,
can.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
Blood
reminds me of.
yeah, Blood Brothers first of all out of Ontario.
Mhm.
Fucking great brewery. Really good people, really damn good beers. They're out of Toronto, like straight out of Toronto. 6% vanilla white stout. White stouts are they're weird. They're very weird. Because they've got the color of like a lager or like a slightly darker, lighter blonde or something like that.
Mhm.
But they got that mouth feel of a stout.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, like look at that color. And I totally forgot to take out my die.
You'll be all right.
I'll be fine.
This tastes like Mexico. This tastes like I've been drinking 100 of them laying by a pool. So calling it a Mexican lager while I do that, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I will take you on a 2-second journey here. Imagine if
And
you
we're there yet.
will. Yes.
Yeah.
So imagine if you will, you are in a coffee shop and your barista has just put down in front of you a Fromy Frothy latte.
Okay.
And when you take a sip of that latte, you get that full body coffee with that little bit of blonde espresso in it,
Mhm.
where it's just sweet enough to disguise that bitterness, but you just get that hint on the back end.
That's fair.
That is
See,
what I am drinking here.
you went all eloquent as shit. And do you know what this is for me?
Mm.
This is memories and nostalgia.
And there you do go.
I taste this and I immediately think of drinking 12 Sol on a tour bus to go cliff diving in Mexico. And because it's got a very similar taste. Like I'm not a huge Corona person. And what is it? It's not Maudette. Uh uh Modelo? Modelo.
Mhm.
Like Modelo is fine. And Dos Equis is all right. But Sol, that cheap ass Mexican beer, it's just it hits the right spot, especially
Oh,
really
yeah.
cold when you're really
Oh,
thirsty,
yeah.
because you can drink them all day long without feeling bloated and terrible. And like
100%.
I would take a couple of cases of this camping, throw it in a creek in a net
Yeah.
bag, and just drink it all weekend. And I feel like
100%.
it would be good all weekend, just like you wouldn't bloat. It's just nice and light. It's great.
Yeah. It's a really good beer.
Mm.
And this is I could tell you that this was made by a barista named Jake behind the bar with a beard about down to here. Um, phenomenal, phenomenal beer.
I like it. No. So
Mm,
On the topic of systems,
yes.
we we have our own gaming system for
Mhm.
Logomancy.
Yes,
That
I have read it.
yeah, it's been updated here and there. Um, at some point, we're gonna have to play it on stream.
100%.
It's it's a D20 base, and it uses every die except for a D6 because the D6 represents your character on a battle map,
Yes.
right? It it is a I was waxing poetic in 2021, 2022 about bygone days of like we used to use pennies and tokens and gummy bears for minis because I couldn't afford any of that growing up. That was never a thing. That's why I never got into Warhammer. Is shit's expensive.
Wait a minute, you didn't get into Warhammer because it was too expensive?
Yeah, funny
Oh
how
my
that works.
god.
Funny how that works. I didn't get into Magic much because it was too expensive either. I had cards that friends gave me and stuff, but
Mhm,
I like the idea of economy and seeing some of the super simple um RPG types that we're playing right now, Tales from the Loop,
oh, yeah.
and y- you need like 8d6 for that game,
Yeah.
which that's a lot of dice. Uh like it's all the same dice, so it's really simple. GURPS is
S
generally an 8d6 or less, and that's fine.
I was about to say, I feel like I'm playing Warhammer when I play Legends of Loot because or
Tales from the Loop. Legends of Logomancy, Tales from the Loop.
I'm just gonna go find a corner to go die in for a minute. Anyway, no, so, like, the orc player in me is like, "Dice!"
So the inspiration that I took for I called it the Naylor Gaming System Beta,
Mhm,
NGS. Um I like the idea of you bought a single tube of dice or a single bag of
mhm.
dice, and you can use it to show up and play. Um, I like the idea of you don't need to be able to count past 3 to be able to play. You have a number and you need to be able to count up to 3 beyond it.
I'm I'm gonna say that is also the father in you.
There's technically we had a kid back when I wrote this. She wasn't very old then, but she's
Mhm.
not very old now. So yeah, it kind of works.
Yeah, it kinda tracks there a little bit,
I took a great amount of inspiration from Gauntlet Legends. Oh,
which, by
Gauntlet
the way,
specifically.
Gauntlet like, the original Gauntlet?
Both, yeah. So
Okay,
the original
because
Gauntlet, it didn't matter if you were the warrior or the elf or the wizard or whatever. They were all within like 2 steps of each other
yes.
for capabilities, and I really liked that. So what I was looking at with this is the idea that um, there is no there is no adventure outside of you being in the dungeon,
No.
right? There's no backstory here. There's no role play aside from like the conversations that you're having in the dungeon. The role play you can use as much as you like because it's largely has no basis on the story other
Yeah,
than you describing what you're trying to do, right? You could be like, I have a background to this. I know something about this. I'm gonna try something.
yeah,
And it's 100% based on you don't get any class abilities. You gain the abilities of the things that you found, aside from some basic skills, right? It
and now I'm currently thinking back to playing Gauntlet Legends 64,
yeah.
which we were talking about playing N64 anyway recently. No, we need to get freaking Gauntlet Legends because that is, like, one of my
Hmm.
favorite goddamn games.
I should
Anyway.
uh I should source a cartridge for that because
Mhm.
I always enjoyed it. It was quite good. Like I I went with a similar sort of thing as what we use in Pathfinder with the whole untrained and you're a novice and you're an
Yeah,
adept and then you're a master kind of deal. So if you're untrained in using weapons, your weapons do a D4. If you're a novice, they do a D8. If you're an adept, they do a D10. And if you're a master, they do a D12, which are criminally small increments to advance, but it's reasonably easy to become a weapon master. You could do it right at first level if that's what you want to focus on. So if you want to build a barbarian type, right, you throw everything into weapon and everything into your physical abilities, nix magic, nix protection. Here you go. I'm a dude swinging a big axe and I hit for things. There's no weapon types. There's just your skills with weapons.
Yeah.
So you flavor it how you like, and off you go. Right?
And that's just the fun part about designing games and designing systems is when you can take the ideas and just everything that's just happening all around and find the flavor that fits.
Yeah.
I want to play this because now I want to play a dice barbarian
Well, and
running around.
all of this is still in beta, so I'm not going to show it on screen.
No, no, no.
Um, but there was this big conversation about lineage as well, right?
Hmm.
Lineage versus race versus heritage versus whatever. And so I'm like, all right, well, if you're an elf versus a human versus a dwarf versus a orc versus whatever, what should that reasonably do in a system this simple? And your lineage, in my case, provides one skill rank at level 1 that you get for free. So if you're an elf, you start off with a bonus to your senses because that seems thematically appropriate.
Makes sense.
If you're halfling, you start off with a bonus to your emotional skill. So anything that ranges from your
Have
emotions, your charisma, because that feels very.
halflings in storytelling and everything like that. Halflings are the ones who feel the music, who are
Yeah.
the bards, who are this. Yeah,
Orcs start off with an additional rank in weapons. It seems very appropriate. Gnomes, an additional rank in magic because it's an inborn thing. I started off with like Tolkien races and just kind of expanded out a little,
yeah.
but it's not a hard line. If you want to be an elf, like when you pick your lineage, you pick one skill rank to put into whatever. Here are some examples of things that might be thematically appropriate, right? There's your customization right there.
Yep.
Dwarves, a protection rank because dwarves are going to be naturally better at wearing armor than, say, gnomes are, right? And humans, one in a physical rank, anything to do with physically moving or like anything like that. That seemed appropriate to me because they're kind of, it's
The
the thing that gets
nomadic.
rolled the most, and humans are kind of an everyman, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the kind of thing that it happens. It's kind of funny that humans get called the everyman. It just, I think that's a discussion for another day.
Mhm.
Just using humans as the everyman because that's what we are. But
Yeah.
like I mean, if
S-
you take a look at Mass Effect, you take a look at D&D, you take a look at
Space
any
orcs.
RPG under the sun,
There is that.
humans are the everyman.
I, again, I'm gonna keep on with the system design thing
Hmm.
because we got some minutes.
Oh yeah.
I I wanted to keep this as simple as possible. So this is what I was hoping the first Project Black Flag document would be.
Mm.
Is here's a system, we're gonna try it. You tell us what you feel. Instead of here's the system reference document and a couple of things that we renamed because we thought that this would fit a little better and be less squeaky. So,
I when we talked about the topic before the show, I said like name me a couple of spells that they have
mhm.
renamed, and I will see if I'll be able to see what they are.
So my biggest gripe with their playtest is that somehow somebody was like, rituals with wizards? Fuck that noise. You know what? Fuck you knowing all the rituals in the game. I immediately felt attacked because I don't think it's any secret to the internet that James is a wizard player. If we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you know who's going to be the goddamn wizard? It's gonna be me,
This
unless I have a
guy. Oh,
particular
sorry.
reason to not play the wizard.
Oh, no,
No,
wait, no,
no,
wait, no,
no.
no.
I'm
My
over.
camera's right. My camera's
I,
right. My
I
camera's
I'm
right.
I'm
Yeah,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There we go. There we go.
So they did a thing, and this is a little jump back from the NGS system, but they basically said they took ritual casting, which is some spells are rituals. You can cast them with an extended casting time. And they
Yeah.
said, no, 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 no. You will know 5 rituals over the course of your whole life. You pick one at varying levels. At level 1, you know 1 ritual.
What?
And detect magic isn't one of them. They're like, we've taken the list of rituals that's like 30 spells in the game, and we cut it down to like 12. And not just for the playtest. They just cut a bunch of shit out. And I'm like, cool. You've removed the thing that I really enjoyed from the game. Like, that's what I like about being
What?
a wizard is having uh problem solving options at my disposal that didn't bank on me picking the right spells the night before.
And again, the way that I feel like you play a wizard is you are the Swiss Army knife.
That's
We
how
are
I feel like
figuring it out.
wizards should be played. That's how I approach wizards is I have an answer to the problem in front of us. Give me 10 minutes.
Mhm.
We can
And
do
again,
this. That's how you play a high intelligence character is, "Oh, I see a problem in front of me. Let's figure out how to solve this."
yeah, I personally think that's great.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I get out of playing wizards is having that mentality of like, um, there's a fighter over there that's doing a thing. There's a cleric over there that's doing their thing. And what am I doing? Whatever you need me to. I showed up today. What do we need? Because that's where I feel wizards really shine. So Treant Monk, uh, Chris Hunkala, he's been writing wizard guides and D&D player guides since like 3.5.
yeah,
And uh, he wrote a guide called The God Mage. And he basically like he laid out the archetypes as like you've got your big dumb fighter, you've got your face, you've got your skill monkey, you've got your god wizard, you've got, like let's
of
be fair.
course you have a god wizard.
It doesn't matter how good your fighter gets at swinging their sword really fast. They're not bending reality to their will with wish. Like there's levels of archetypes here.
I,
You're
uh,
not massively impacting the land around you by doing a thing. That's more of a druid thing, right? Like archetype wise.
yeah,
So it's like, all right, well, if you've got a big dumb fighter, so to speak, and that big dumb fighter can be any frontliney, muscle bound, like a strength based so and so. Your wizard probably doesn't need to do that, but they can. Here's how to do that, right? If you need your wizard to be the strongest person in the room for 10 minutes, they can do that. They just need a bit of time to prep the right spells.
yeah, and this comes down to the whole idea of what wizards are in tabletop RPGs, especially D&D. They're stupid.
They're stupid.
They're they're just I'm going to take this law of something, this law of reality, and just break it.
Yeah, it's called I cast atomic karate on the mammoth.
I cast atomic karate on the mammoth. And that's the thing about wizards. If you have a player who's going, I'm playing a wizard, you go, cool, slider up.
Yeah. Well, well, all right, here's the thing. If you have a wizard player that has never played a wizard in 5e before,
Oh, it stays down. Oh, it
yeah,
stays down.
like it's like, what do you do? I cast firebolt.
If James comes in and
Why?
goes,
Why? Why are
why?
you doing that?
If James comes in and goes, I'm playing a wizard,
All
and
right, that's also a problem with me. So, Flint was born specifically out of an offhand comment that Mac, one of our players on our Monday stream, made, where he's like, "Fighters are stupid because they don't do anything. Why would I want to be a dude with a sword?"
And
So so I made a fighter for the arc that he did of 4 episodes, and I ripped shit apart consistently with not quite my bare hands, but let's be
well,
fair.
you
Flint
had
killed a lot
s-
of shit.
you had somebody in the background who went haste,
That's what you do. That's your
dispel magic.
that's your goddamn job.
Mm,
It worked.
yep. Oh yeah.
Um, but
Did we plan this one together? Kinda.
well, we talked about it.
We talked about
Yeah.
it.
But that's just it, is like, uh, the vibe and the feel we talked about earlier of Wizards is,
Yeah.
what do you get out of it? I really value when I'm playing a magic cast, like, say Wizard,
Yep.
I like the heroic fantasy of delving for lost magic. Like,
Yes.
I want you know why I go into deep dangerous dungeons? To find that spell book that has stuff,
Fuck
because
yeah.
that enhances my personal power. It gives me the ability to solve more problems than I could solve yesterday. And then all of
Perfect.
the things that go along with it. That's the fantasy that I want out of it. That's the fantasy
That's
that's stripped out of Project Black Flag.
that is an amazing point to make with that. And I think with that, I think we should plug our stuff and head on
Yeah.
out of here and
I
wave our flags.
I'm I'm gonna take 5 more minutes
Mm.
because I wanna use this as an intro because I've talked about it for longer tonight than I have at any other interval or on any other platform for the Naylorm, gaming system.
Ooh, please do.
So
Yes,
if you
go.
wanna play in the Naylor gaming system, there are a couple character assumptions that the game assumes of you. And this
Ooh.
is kind of the first time running you through it. The character assumptions are as follows if you wanna make a character and play this game.
Okay. Can I make a character along with this?
Yes, you could.
I
So,
have a pen and paper.
yeah. So the general gist is character assumption number 1, you have a name.
My name is let's go with Fizzbolt Fit.
Character assumption number 2, and this would translate into, like, the whole game system would fit into, a pamphlet that's, like, less than 30 pages. Like,
Okay.
truly. Assumption number 2 is you have a lineage of some kind that provides 1 rank that you like,
I
and the
am a
lineage
gnome.
definitions cool. So as a gnome, you have 1 rank in magical.
Okay, one rank in magical. Okay. I am Fizz Fizzbelt Fit. One rank in magical.
Mhm. Assumption number 3, you are untrained in all skills and then spend your skill points at character creation to build your character.
Okay.
At level 1, you have 6 skill points to spend.
Okay.
So technically 7 because you got the first one in magical.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So I would put Fizzbolt feels like he would be a magic caster of some kinds.
Mhm.
Do I have a limitation of how many points I can put into magical?
So, you start untrained in everything, then you go to
Yep.
novice, adept, and master. So if you put 3 more ranks into magical, you're a master magic caster.
All
Sorry,
right.
2
That
more
is
ranks because
definitely
2 more ranks because you are, a novice, being a gnome right off the hop.
oh, fair enough.
So,
Well, then I'm going to put 2 points into that immediately.
protection, denotes your armor, your defense.
Mhm.
Physical denotes your health and hit points, as well as your, um, to hit, and as well as your resistances. That's why physical is so important. Protection, or sorry, weapon denotes the amount of damage that you do with things. Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
having 6 ranks, spending 2 of them in magical, to master
Yep.
yourself out, you have 4 left. The ranks or the specific skills in the game are weapon, protection, physical, emotional, magical, and senses.
Okay. I'm gonna feel this guy's a little bit more emotional, so I'm gonna
Yep.
put 3 points into emotional. I'm going to
Yep.
put 1 point into physical,
Mhm.
and so that would be my character there for skills.
Pretty much so far. Now, further assumptions. Your health at level 1 is equal to the maximum amount of physical die after assigning all the ranks. So, what is your physical rank?
1.
So, you have 4 hit points.
Perfect. For HP.
Oh, sorry. You put 1 rank in, so you're a novice. 8 hit points. I
Oh, 8
apologize.
hit points. No
4
worries.
is the starting.
Ah,
Um, assumption 5. You have protective equipment and weapons that you need for adventuring. They're just in your backpack.
Um, Fizzbolt Fit is a wizard or a magical caster, if you will, who has his magic wand and a kit of food that he always has prepared,
I like it.
because he likes tea at high noon.
Now, you'll notice in the game system, your skill rank in weapon and skill rank in protection denote what your AC and or your defense and your weapon
Mhm.
damage do, not the weapon that you're carrying. So it doesn't matter. You tell me what he carries and what he wears and stuff. It's a thing.
He has a magic wand that is very pointy.
I like it.
He can point it at people.
Assumption number 6. You have gear in your backpack and you want to or that you want to use for adventuring and problem solving.
Oh, well, that's a very simple one. He has a teapot, cups, and of course, he has other kind of little gizmos and gadgets to make sure his tea is at perfection, but also has, for some reason, a poker stick for poking tiles.
I like it. Almost like a 10-foot pole, if you will.
Almost.
You can see where a lot of this came from is, classic D&D, right?
Hmm.
Where it wasn't based
Definitely
on
AD&D.
yeah. So, next assumption, you might roll to hit something with a weapon. Physical,
Yes.
uh, attacks have a 5-foot reach. Magical attacks have a 30-foot reach.
Yes.
Just as a standard because it's a super simple gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
Next assumption, you might want to attack at range with a bow or a javelin or a slingshot or whatever. You use your ranks in magical to hit with ranged attacks because fantasy archery might as well be magical. Legolas with a bow? Come on now. That's not skill. That's goddamn
That's
magic.
got
And it differentiates due to the great sword and the benefits that are conferred with it with
Yeah,
right? So your damage is still based on your weapon die, but your to hit is based on your magical ability.
makes
So
sense to
looping
me.
those things in together made sense.
Yeah.
Next assumption, you might be attacked and have something roll to hit you with a weapon.
Oh my god.
The thing. You might choose to do something physical. You might choose to do something emotional. And when I say these terms, I mean it in the literal sense of doing a physical thing versus an emotional thing as per the dictionary. Because now you don't have a mechanic that it says emotional equals whatever. It's through the course of the game, if it feels like it's a physical thing that somebody's trying to do, you roll physical. If it feels like an
Yeah.
emotional thing, like somebody's tinkering with your brain, you roll emotional. If you're trying to resist a thing, somebody a trap triggers and casts a spell on you. Is it a physical kind of spell where you have to physically dodge something? It's a d20 plus your physical. Is it whammying your head and confusing you and getting into your soul? It's a d20
That's
plus your
emotional.
emotional. That's it. Emotional also plays into oh, you're trying to influence somebody with a social check. Is it in a physical way or is it in an emotional way? And your ranks either go one way or the other, depending on how you choose to do a thing. So it's not
And
just, I persuade them. Okay, but how do you persuade them? Tell
and
me.
then the nice thing about this system, when I'm taking a look at it,
Yep.
is that you could go, that's a tech item. This is the future. We're 2,000 years advanced.
Mhm. None of this comes into play in like I wrote it as a fantasy system,
Yes.
a la like AD&D kind of deal,
Yeah.
right? Um oh, next assumption, you might choose to do something magical if you have ranks in magical because if you are untrained in magic, you cannot use the magical skill as per most fantasy tropes. Magic is beyond most people unless you explicitly have some kind of training in it.
Yeah.
You will adventure to obtain magical items and gold in order to level up and get tougher, which tells you that the gold that you get is directly linked to the XP that you acquire. You
And
might.
that is so AD&D. It's
That is exactly
ridiculous.
AD&D. The whole premise of
This
the system
is
was based on that. No bullshit
yep.
thaco.
This is AD. I was about to say that. You took it away from me.
You might choose
And
to do
that is what
something
this is.
that uses your senses, and your
Yes.
senses, sense is its own skill check.
Yeah.
Um, senses influence being able to perceive things and like find things and everything else. Senses also impact your speed. So your base speed is 30 plus 5 feet for every rank you have in senses. Because somebody that's really tuned into everything around them is going to react quicker, move faster. There is no initiative so much as when you're rolling to see who
Who's
goes
reacting?
first, you roll a sense check.
Yep.
There's no
This
dexterity.
this is a basic but very playable
Yeah.
RPG system.
And the last assumption and the most important one, you will spend your gold seeking out rumors and hints of further adventure, build your castles, establish yourself as a hero of the realm when not adventuring. Essentially, off camera, all of the gold that you earned doesn't come into play in the dungeon and adventure. You're a much more experienced adventurer. Maybe you have more ranks in things because you're more experienced. And but that's it, right? You're not lugging it around and there's no class levels. That's it. So you go on adventures. This is the basic thing. All of your dice are tied into these six skills. Monsters are built in the same way that characters are, with some very specific sorts of things like goblins get a boost to their senses, orcs get a boost to their weapons as though, whatever. Um, boss monsters get some extra stuff. Their health is based on their size. Like it's all just really scalable. Here's an example, apply the formula. Here's the example, apply the formula. So it's really easy with very simple math to make adventures. You think of the feel
And
of like, do I want an ultra competent human here? What would I do to have that? If say they're the bandit captain,
well,
you
then
would
he's going
get
to have a little bit of weapons. He's going to have a bit of physical. He's probably not going to have the highest of emotional, but
yep,
higher senses because he's aware. He's a bandit. He knows how to lie in wait.
yep. He's gonna have higher health than the regular bandits. He's gonna probably do more damage than the regular bandits, but he's probably wearing the same kind of armor, right? Things like
Yeah.
that. The big ones are things like magic items, because the whole point of adventuring is to improve your capability of adventuring.
And it's
So
almost like you could just create whatever magic items the DM feels is appropriate.
Within like a mechanical thing. So everything within the system is either a +1, a +2, or a +3 bonus, right? Never more than that for the vibe of the system. You found the magic warrior sword. It grants a +1 to hit with physical weapons,
Yeah.
right? Found a barbarian axe. It grants an additional damage die, which is a very powerful thing in a very scaled structure. Um, oh, you're a magician of some kind. You found a wand of fireballs, or a magic lamp, or you know, a scroll of magic arrows,
Which
and
is
you use this
totally
scroll.
Fizzbolt's Fitz
Yeah,
jam.
exactly. Um, Scroll of Flames. You roll magical versus a physical save, and on a 13 or better, the scroll activates and they take a bunch of fire damage
Perfect.
based on your weapon skill.
This sounds like that makes sense to me.
Yep. And now Fizzbolt can't really do much other than like, I cast a minor spell using my ranged attack until he finds some of these things. But there's no, I'm level 2, how many spells do I know? It's, you know, a magic trick that lets you go pew. That's your adventuring life. Off you go.
I am Fizzbolt Fit and I like my tea. So all my attacks are tea based. I cast Oolong Missile at you.
I like it. And you base it on your weapon roll. Yada yada yada. So, but yeah, that's in a nutshell what I've got. We should plan a an arc of playing this. No,
It'd be
it's
fun.
it's hard because we generally prioritize a bunch of storytelling and role playing on our stream
Yes.
versus what we have here, which is literally just like a tabletop dungeon
This is
crawler.
this is a dungeon crawling system.
Yeah. But maybe in August. We don't have anything on the docket for August. Maybe we'll
No, not
explore a
yet.
little bit.
Well, I mean, I have an idea for August, but we'll talk about that.
I like it. Thank you, my friend. It was a good
Thank
night.
you, my friend. It was. And cheers to our friends out there. We will hopefully see you guys next week.
And thank you to um, Aaron and Inner City Brewing for the beers, and Blind Man Brewing, because Dream Machine is fucking delicious.
I thought you would like that one. And
Yeah.
thank you to Blood Brothers and Anchorage Brewing for my beers.
Hmm.
I really wanted to try that Year of the Tiger fresh. That would have been freaking awesome. But no, this is now my favorite white stout.
I will have to give it a go one of these days.
I will find you a can because this is freaking phenomenal. But anyway,
Hello, Monstropolis. Nice to have you in. Sorry that you're joining as we end.
why are you joining now, Neil?
Well, because it's Critical Role night.
Uh, uh,
I see how it is. Eh, it'll be on YouTube. You're good. Thanks
Thank you
very
very
much,
much, my
everybody.
friends.
Y'all have yourselves a good night. You can tune in Monday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're going to be in session 2 of our Tales from the Loop game that Riley's our loop master for. I'm playing Ina Straight the Hick. That's super poor.
And
That's
I gotta figure out all the goddamn voices that I've already done and figure out more voices because you guys keep adding goddamn characters and I just need to try and figure all that out.
you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You're having a good time. Um, if you like what we do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it out with your friends. It helps us out a lot. Also, if you have any beer recommendations, please leave them in a comment in the video, and we'll look it up and
See
give
if
them a
it's
go.
even available for us.
See if it's even available for us. We are in Canada. We have a lot of good beers, but some things aren't available. Um, yeah. Also, there's links in the doobly doo. If you want to help out the channel, you can buy us a beer. It's always a good time. Um, with that, we'll see y'all next time. Next week, week after, not sure yet, but we'll be around. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bow, dow, bow, dow, bow, dow.